Hey my friend, welcome back to a new video. Have you ever asked yourself why, even after all the inner work, all the spiritual practices, all the manifestation rituals, you're still not living the abundant life you dream about? It's not because you're not worthy. It's not because you're not spiritual enough. And it's not because the universe isn't listening. It's because most of us are carrying invisible blocks, layers of conditioning, old wounds, fears, and patterns that literally cut us off from the flow of abundance. It's not that we are disconnected from it. We willingly pull ourselves away from it, and we don't notice I call it guidance from it. Like each frequency has its own stream of information. And if we willingly disconnect ourselves from it, like we can disconnect from joy by constantly being sad, we can disconnect from gratitude by constantly being ungrateful. We can disconnect from happiness by constantly being unhappy. It's not that happiness is not there or joy is not there. It's just that our daily mindset and actions and attitudes are not aligned with that energy. It's not that we should think more positively, but we should adapt our lifestyle, alter our lifestyle a little bit so we tap more frequently into a different energy. Like to some people who, when they were younger, loved sports a lot and nature and things like that, but later in life, due to certain responsibilities, they've stopped doing that. Maybe they lack joy and they've completely forgotten how great it feels when they do something, like when they go out on a bike or swim or run or something like that. And then one day they wake up and they decide, oh, I will start working out again. They start and they tap into that joy, and suddenly when they are in the middle of the workout, they recognize, oh yes, I will change the way I eat. I will start meditating again. I will start that project again. Oh, and yes, I've completely forgotten about that dream. And suddenly, if they truly initiate all these great ideas, they tap into momentum of a positive change. So it's not that you are disconnected from a potential good life. It's just that maybe you've never tapped fully into it, or due to your programming and conditioning, you're living completely out of alignment with what truly speaks to you. So today I'm going to walk you through the 5 major blocks every person has to clear in order to live abundantly. I'm not just going to talk some, information or theory. I will give you real life examples and practices you can start today to dissolve these blocks from your body, your mind, and your energy field. And I will talk from my experience, because there was a time I was broke. There was a time I was unhappy with how my life is going. And whatever I tried, nothing changed until I've truly decided to change. I've decided that I will create an abundant life for me, whatever it takes. So firstly, I needed to find out with what I will create an abundant life. And I said I will make it with something I love to do. And that's when I've started painting. So I needed to find some successful artists so I could model what they've done. And I did it in my own way. And it took me to YouTube, because I love self-expression. I love sharing stories and things like that. And I wanted to build a successful YouTube channel, because I wanted to spread a message that comes into my heart. And I needed to find someone who's doing something like that on YouTube, and I modeled it and did it in my own way. So I've recognized it's possible to create an abundant life for me if I firstly find out with what I will create abundance, and then how to make it, and then making it. Making it means sticking up to a certain path that will lead us to there. So I want to walk you through all of that today, because I needed to remove certain blocks in my life in order to make it happen. And I'm still, making it happen. I'm making bigger things and new things. I just love to learn new things. And therefore, it's not a finished project. It's just something that's constantly evolving into something new. Like we reach one goal and we recognize, oh, it was a great journey. So let's see what else is possible. That's how I function, because I know that me as a soul is here to expand as much as I can in this lifetime. And that's what I'm aiming towards. So when I reach something, when I experience something, I will look for what else is possible here. And the first block that I needed to remove was scarcity programming and lack beliefs. I had so many of them because I've been growing up in an environment where everybody was constantly saying to me what is not possible or what I shouldn't do. Like, I've been growing up as a creative kid, and my parents told me that you can't make a living as an artist. So I was not thinking about becoming an artist. I was not thinking about doing anything related to that. So I went into sports and I went into something completely different. But later, when my soul started calling me, I've started painting again, and I've decided, well, maybe my parents were wrong. Let's see if there's someone who's successful in art, and let's see what they've done. So firstly, I've stopped believing what I was told. That's how I've started overcoming my lack beliefs. I've recognized that everything I've heard may not be true. So the first block I've recognized in my life was block of lack. Like, there's lack, but I've recognized everything is in abundance. Like, everything is in abundance if we see it this way. There's abundant amount of money somewhere in the world. Maybe it's not in my pocket, but it's somewhere in the world. Can I touch people who have abundance of money in some way? So they will give it to me and I will give them something they crave. So this is called the law of exchange. When we see that there is abundance out there, then we're not in lack anymore. Then we're already working with this law of exchange. Like, what can I give to them? What can I offer to them? And well, whatever we are doing, we can offer something valuable with it if we become good with it, if we become unique and authentic in it. So it's not even about money, it's about being of service in society. And that's how I've recognized that we can overcome lack, not by thinking how can I have more, but actually thinking about how can we shape our skills in unique ways. How can we use these bodies as instruments of consciousness, as vehicles through which we can bring something unique that comes from our spirit into this world. That's how I've started thinking. So I've adapted my mindset to a way that I can adapt to anything, that I can always find a way to succeed, that I can always outgrow my current limitations, that I'm not actually limited, I'm in the process of transformation, and I will use what is limiting me as activation. It is activating me to see more, to notice more details, to see how manifestation starts not with actually manifesting something physical, but manifesting an idea, manifesting an example, like someone who's already living the way you would like, so you can ask them. Like, every time I want to manifest something new, I will firstly meet someone who already lives that kind of a life, and then I can ask them, like, what you've done. Or we find them on the internet and we can see what they've done, and then we can model it in our own way. That's how we overcome lack beliefs. We need to notice, like, most of us were raised in a world where we were taught there's not enough to go around, or money is limited, or success is for other people, or love has to be earned, and things like that. So this is called scarcity. It's a lens of survival, and when your nervous system is stuck in survival, you can't receive abundance. So we need to recognize that all these lack beliefs create scarcity. And then scarcity is also intensified by results in our lives. We lack something, there's not enough of income or whatever it is, and we feel afraid. So what I've started doing, I found tools for myself to learn to shift out of survival state. And one thing was painting. Painting helped me so much because it distracted my mind from what is lacking, because every time I paint, I kind of lose myself in the creative process. But painting was not enough, because when I've stopped painting, I returned back to my reality. So I needed another tool that would shift me into a different state of being, and that was meditation. So back at that time, it was back in 2017 and 18 when I've started building this. I've been meditating Dr. Joe Dispenza's meditations. They're 1 hour long usually, and it helped me so much, because if I did a meditation for 10 minutes, not much has changed. Like, I tapped a little bit into gratitude, but it was not enough. But when I've been practicing a meditation for 1 hour, I went so deep that I've seen possibilities. I've seen that there's infinite different ways I could live my life, and it just started feeding me with energy, and it gave me a new belief. It gave me a belief that I can do anything. So the way I did these meditations was, the way he guides them, is that you firstly focus on nothingness, and you keep focusing on nothingness, on empty space, until your brain goes into alpha brainwave frequency, which means you stop analyzing your life, because you're not focusing on your life. You're focusing on nothingness, and because your brain has nothing to grab on, it relaxes. Your mind stops jumping because there's nothing to jump around. So you relax, and when your brain relaxes, your nervous system relaxes, and your body suddenly becomes calm. But nothingness is not empty, it's filled with energy, it's filled with information. So one day in meditation, I got this download to combine these helpful messages together with my art. And that's, I woke up from meditation, I've started doing that, and in 1 month, this YouTube channel, AttractPassion, started growing very, very, very fast. So that's how I've started, because I've learned to shift myself from scarcity into creativity. So this is how to overcome a block of scarcity and lack beliefs. Firstly, find examples that live a life you would like to live, and notice that they are no different. In their core, they are no different. Maybe they are more intelligent, maybe they have better support, maybe they have whatever. But in the core, they're spirits who are having a physical experience. They're adaptable as you are adaptable. They can learn as you can learn. They can build skills and you can build skills. They can be wise and see lessons. You can be wise and see lessons. Yeah, they have different emotional reactions, but they still have them. And when you see everyone like that, you notice, okay, if they can do it, I can do it too. That's what helped me. Then the second block I've noticed in my life was that I had many emotional wounds. And emotional wounds made me feel a lot of shame and made me feel like I'm not good enough. And they made me feel like I will never succeed because I failed so many times in the past. And firstly, I've identified these wounds, and I was not focusing too much on them. I've just recognized, okay, what am I shameful about? Expressing myself honestly, because in the past, people were laughing at me if I've done something like that. So I've recognized, okay, if I truly want to express myself, if I truly want to do something and I feel shameful about it, then the best way to overcome this shame is to do it. So that's why I've started recording videos, because I've noticed I have so much to share, but I feel shame. I've recognized that the heart's desire was stronger than shame. The heart's desire was more important to me than what I feel emotionally. And that's what helped me to overcome shame. Then, when I wasn't feeling good enough, like sometimes I felt unworthy, especially when I've started creating paintings. I've sold my first original paintings for 20 euros. And I thought, well, it's not even enough to buy new art equipment like colors and canvases. Back at that time, I was making my own canvases because I couldn't afford, new canvases. So I thought, okay, people are buying my art, but as soon as I've raised the price to 50 euros, nobody bought them anymore. So it was again a manifestation like, oh, you're unworthy of more. But I've recognized, okay, the way to overcome that is to stick to something higher. Let's set a bigger price. And maybe people who were buying my work for 20 euros will obviously not buy it for 200 euros or 2000 euros. It doesn't mean I'm not worthy of that. It just means I'm not presenting it to the right people. So I recognized my worth doesn't come out from what I receive. It's how worthy I see myself to be. Because later, when I presented my work to different people, like when I had my art exhibition, there, some abandoned people came. They didn't even ask for price. Or some people, asked. I said, this one is 500 euros, this one is 3,000. And many people, or at least those who were really serious about buying, they didn't, try to lower the price. They just said, okay, I love it. Here you go. So I've noticed, okay, well, then my worth is truly not defined by what I receive. It's how I see myself and how I present myself. So I've recognized, okay, my sense of worth is fully dependent on me and my perception of me and what is possible for me. This helped me to overcome this unworthiness wound. So you may notice it happened through action and exposure. So I call it exposure therapy, even though it's not a therapy, but it is a healing process. So we don't heal through meditation. It can help us to identify something, to notice the pattern, and to practice self-love. But then we need to change our behavior. We need to expose ourselves to what makes us feel uncomfortable, and also to experience some new results, so we recognize that actually we are way more capable and our worth truly comes from our own perception of ourselves, and exposing ourselves to new experiences and new events, new possibilities, which require some effort, some energy, and a lot of discomfort, because it just doesn't feel pleasant. But then you experience some new results and you recognize you truly are a creator of your life. The third block I've noticed in my life was fear of authentic expression. So, abundance flows through authenticity, which also means through uniqueness. So, what work is the most valuable in society? Work that is unique or work that is popular? Well, work that is popular is maybe abundant, but not for everyone. For those who invented it, for those who created a trend, for them it's very abundant work. But for those who are copying it, maybe not so much. Only when you make it authentically. You can copy it, but still make it authentically, then it will turn into abundance. But if you just copy something, it will never work. So abundance flows through authenticity. But so many people are terrified of being seen for who they really are. Maybe because you've been judged in the past, like I was. People were laughing at me. And therefore, I needed to recognize that it was never personal. It was never about me. It was about them. Sometimes people want to be cool by laughing at someone else. So, they are like better than them. It's always about them. It's never about you. If it was about you, you can learn a lot from that experience and improve that part of you. But authenticity and fear of authentic expression is very powerful lesson here, because when I've started making art, and my art, it's not some mainstream art. I'm not painting some mainstream paintings. Like, I'm not doing something Picasso did or Leonardo da Vinci did. I'm painting what I see in my mind, and I've noticed it's not trendy art. So most probably my art will not sell because it's popular on the world. It will sell because it's unique, but therefore it must be presented in a unique way, and that's what I'm doing on YouTube. Like, I'm not trying to sell my art. I'm sharing a message. I'm a messenger, and that's the purpose of my art, to be a messenger, to speak a message. And those who resonate with the message, those who find out that the painting speaks to them, they also buy it. So this is authentic expression. I haven't found it in one day. Like, it took me many years to recognize that this is what I'm doing, and therefore it took me some years to truly find out how to also monetize it so I can make a living out of it. So I've recognized one great thing to overcome is being impatient, and design your life the way that you can afford it. So maybe some side income, some other things that can help you to support that mission, so you can truly find out what your authentic expression is, because we just don't discover it in one day. But that's how we remove the block of fear of authentic expression, because so many times if we are dependent on what we are doing financially and it doesn't feel authentic, it will be hard for us to make it authentically if all our money depends on it. So I've recognized, okay, I need to have some, it's not a backup plan, but some side income as well, so I can truly shape myself. So painting was never my main income, but it was my main passion. And therefore, because it was not my main income, I could afford to truly make it authentically. So here is an empowering lesson that I've learned it for me, and I also teach it on to other artists, that it's not always the case, but it's good if you're not focused just on one passion, if you want to make a living out of your passion, to see what else you're passionate about and combine it all together. Because I'm also passionate about helping others. I'm passionate about messages, and I just feel inspired to make messages. That's who I am, and therefore painting for me would never be enough. For some artists, I've noticed they love to teach others how to paint, for example, and therefore they're not just selling art, they're making courses and communities and teaching maybe kids or whatever it is. There's so many different ways to open up to abundance. But we should never be mentally limited just by one thing. That's where fear of authentic expression comes from, because we're too limited by just one path. There's so many different paths for us. And if we organize ourselves well, we can do many different things that are like a tree that has many different branches. Tree is it's your core. It's something you're passionate about. But then there's many different branches that can grow out of your passion. So that's why you shouldn't focus just on one thing, maybe. That's also what I've learned from my mentors and people I found inspiring around me or on social media who are doing something that I admire, that I value. Even great teachers like, I don't know, Dr. Joe Dispenza and people like that, they're not, dependent on one stream of income. They have many different streams, so then they can truly focus authentically on to what they value the most. So this was a powerful lesson for me. Some of you may be like, why I talk so much about money? Well, maybe that video is not for you. I talk to those who want to make a living out of something they love to do, just to know that. The fourth block I've noticed that blocked abundance was attachment to control and old identities. So immediately when we decide that we want to live abundant life, we need to let go of the old identity that was not abundant, that was limited, that was trying to control outcomes and other people and circumstances and so on. So we cling to who we used to be, the roles, the careers, the relationships that once made sense but no longer do. And that clinging chokes the flow of abundance. What we need to recognize is that if we truly want to create an abundant life, we need to let go of that old version of ourselves and we need to become someone new. So it doesn't mean we change the core of ourselves. It's like a diamond, we shape it to become more of ourselves. And in the core, your abundant spirit. Spirit is not limited. Universe is not limited in anything. It doesn't lack anything, but it is objective. You attach meaning to things. You attach opinion to things. You attach value to things. So if you think something is bad or wrong, it's just your opinion. And that's what it means. Universe is objective, which means you can create a whole new vision of who you can be and you can embody it in daily life, which means it's a change in mental attitude, it's a change in emotional expression, and it's a change in your actions. When you apply this change, it means it must be driven by clarity, and that is intention. Intention is clarity of who you want to be. This is real intention. And when that intention drives your actions, it means that you become aware when you fall out of alignment with that intention, when you fall out into the old habits and you move yourself back into that new vision of who you're becoming. I've created a whole course around it called Level Up Your Life on our Patreon. And it's very powerful because it shifts us back into a new state of being, into a new identity, into a new version of ourselves that is actually the product of our future, not our past. And when I've started painting and I've started doing this work, I've started identifying myself not as someone who's not an artist. Actually, when I've started, and at some point I've started hanging with I actually joined one group of entrepreneurs because I wanted to make some new connections back in 2018. And every time they asked me what I'm doing, so it was like every time we met, every person in that group needed to share what they are doing. So every time I've shared what I'm doing, it was very awkward for me to say I'm an artist because it was so fresh to me. I've just started. But then one day there was another artist. I think there was someone who was a teacher on some academy for art. So very educated woman. And she said to me, "Oh, you're an artist." And I was like awkward. Yeah, I'm an artist. And that's when I've recognized, my identity is still in the old me, like in the athlete, in someone who was not painting, in someone who was not doing what I'm doing today. I'm not embracing that new identity. And since that day, I've started truly embracing that. I've started talking like I'm an artist. I'm making paintings. I'm making art. I'm connecting it with philosophical stories that empower people, that inspire people. So I'm also a teacher. I'm also, a spiritual seeker. I'm someone who's constantly expanding the understanding of life. So I'm a student. And I've recognized, this is a whole new identity. Now, I'm also abandoned. What does that mean? Well, let's look at the abandoned people, how they identify themselves. Are they identified as victims, or are they identified as some kind of students that can always build something out of nothing? And I've recognized there's a whole new concept of ourselves where we recognize that we can shift our identity. This is called self-concept. That's what Neville Goddard was teaching. So if you recognize, my friend, that you can shift your identity, if you notice who you are in the future, you can already start identifying like that person. And it will be much easier then to do it because, well, someone who's an artist is not procrastinating on art projects, right? Someone who's abandoned is not saying, oh, it's so hard to make money. Someone who is free and in love with life is not complaining and gossiping and judging and victimizing him or herself. So it's only when we stay in some old identity that we look on life from this kind of a limited perspective. That's how I've learned to overcome the fourth block, which is attachment to control and old identity, because old identity was also built because it believed, my old me believed that I can only succeed if I control everything, if I work hard for it. My new self believed that I can succeed if I learn the right thing, if I find someone who is already where I want to be and let them mentor me and be open-minded, open-hearted enough to see what patterns to embody so I can take the right action, but then also to let go when I'm done, so I'm not constantly looking when something will work out, when the results will happen, so I can trust, I can surrender to life, because I know that life has its own timing for me. And more I'm aligned with that path of mine, more I know that I'm putting in the work, more I can also let go and surrender. So that's how I've overcome this attachment to control, by actually learning skills, adapting to circumstances, and constantly trying out, experimenting, taking risks, and letting go when I've been in emotional reactions, like when it will happen, why it's not happening yet, or this fear of missing out when there was maybe a good opportunity, but due to fear or something, I've pushed it away, or something like that. To, accept these emotional reactions as something natural that happens to all of us, and to let them go eventually and return back to what's in my control. And then the fifth block is energetic leaks and weak boundaries. So this was one of the toughest for me, but we all have them. If we want to live abundant lives, we need to recognize where our energy is leaking. We call them energetic leaks. Even if you clear your trauma and any programmed beliefs, you still need to be able to hold energy. And you can't hold it if your energy is leaking everywhere. So think about your body as a vessel that has some holes in it. So even if you fill that vessel with life force, it will be leaking. Now ask yourself, what are holes in your vessel? For some it's complaining, for some it's bad habits, for some it's hanging with wrong people, for some it's eating junk food all the time, for some it's bad sleep routine, for some it's mentally and emotionally being overwhelmed. Whatever it is for you, notice it, identify it, and start filling these holes, like heal them. What does it mean? It means you remove it or you set boundaries with it. So weak boundaries are that you fill up that hole, but then it happens again, right? You say no to a certain person, and that person crosses that boundary, and you don't say no anymore. Having strong boundaries means that you stand behind them. You protect your pace for any cause. And It means that whatever is your energetic leak, you decide to change it. You decide to remove the old activity and replace it for something new. That's why for many people sometimes it's so hard to change a habit, because they're not clear for what they are replacing it. But if we are really clear for what we are replacing it, and we know exactly why we are replacing it, then changing it is very easy, because we know clearly why we're doing it, what's the reward behind it, and why it's worthy of the unpleasant feeling that comes with the change as a short-term process of transformation. And then eventually we see also the reward of this kind of a positive change, which is having more energy, feeling stronger, feeling more confident, and we just don't find a reason to fall into an old habit. That's how it works. So be aware of energetic leaks. For example, when I've decided that I will do daily messages on YouTube, I've recognized, I can't scroll on my phone all day long and still be inspired to make messages. So I needed to let go of this kind of habits. I've also recognized that I need to be charged up. I need to have a good sleep. I need to have a clear mind. So I can't just walk around and complain and imagine that I will have a clear mind to talk about something divine. And I've recognized that I can't, hang out all the time with certain people or do what everyone else is doing and expect to live a different life. So I needed to cut certain people out of my life. I've recognized certain people are toxic for me. I've recognized certain people are not on the level that I want to be. I can't listen to their advice, and I also can't follow their footsteps because I want to go somewhere else. And this is how we start setting boundaries and filling these holes that are kind of making us feeling drained and exhausted. Also self-awareness and mindfulness, like noticing where we are putting way too much of work into something just because we don't trust that we're learning, because we don't see the progress. So it's important to learn also the right mindset around growth, around evolution. So we don't have some unhealthy, limiting beliefs around something. We find out what's called growth, how to build a growth mindset, how to see everything as a part of our evolution rather than part of our destruction. It's just a different outlook. But that different outlook requires from us a lot of learning, a lot of adapting, a lot of letting go, and being open-minded, and zooming out when we become too reactive, to recognize that maybe we've been just way too focused on a tiny spot when there's a whole big picture that is forming outside of our awareness. Like if you would zoom in onto a TV screen, you would see just few dots. You would not see a movie or a picture on the screen. But if you zoom out, you will see what's actually playing on the screen. In life, it's the same. Sometimes we decide to shift our lives, to step into more abundance, to learn something new. But then first few months are just going against ourselves, our old selves, old programs that are saying, you're not good enough. You will never succeed because there's failure after failure after failure. To wise man and woman, there's breakthrough after a breakthrough after a breakthrough. I've recognized I shouldn't look wins as wins and losses and losses as losses. I should see everything as progress. Everything is progress, because even when we lose something, we've learned something. Even when we fail at something, we've learned something. So I've started journaling a lot in my life. I have so many fill up journaling blogs because I'm writing about everything I'm going through, everything I'm learning, everything I've been failing about, all my visions, all my goals, everything that happened. So because when we're writing down, we're truly clarifying our minds. We're organizing our minds. So we're not like, oh, why all of that is happening? We know exactly what is happening. And because we know what is happening, we can respond more wisely to it, more calmly to it, to see that there is a bigger picture, and we can adapt to anything, and we can still follow our vision. So that's how we step into abundance. And once we do, we know, yeah, we've changed a lot. So I hope you found a great value today. It's a bit longer message, but really rich in information and insights. It's from my life, so it's not something I've made it up. It's not something I've read from somewhere on the internet. It's from my life. So the best way we know something works is if it worked for us, and that's what I'm sharing with you. So I hope you found great value. And yes, if you implement it, I'm sure you will learn a lot on your path as well. I hope you've enjoyed in today's painting as well. As you've noticed, I'm an artist and I'm sharing my paintings with you, the ones that are related with the message. So I hope you found today's one inspiring, and to anyone who would like to support my work or buy my art, you can find it on AttractPassion.com or the link in the description of this video. So go there and check it out, which one speaks to you. And I'm grateful to all of you deciding to support this work. You're part of this mission, and I truly appreciate you. Also join us on our Patreon community for more exclusive content, guided meditations, and so much more. And also join the YouTube membership if you would like to support this channel. Thank you so much, and till next time, one love.